the atrocity that has befallen this wonderful, marvelous family. And the very fact that their coffins are draped in the beautiful Canadian flag is an apt testimony of the fact that the entire Canadian nation stands with them.
Heartbreak and healing in London, Ontario. Good evening, I'm Marivel Charouk. A community of mourners, loved ones, and total strangers gathered in the city today to pay their respects to the Muslim family killed nearly a week ago while out for an evening walk. Our Lorenda Redekop is live in London tonight. Lorenda, touching show of support there today.
That's for sure, Marivel. And I'm outside the spot where this happened, where this family was killed. And all week, this has been the main spot where people have come to offer condolences, to leave flowers or messages, and really show their solidarity for the Muslim community. But today, people gathered outside a mosque for another public event to say goodbye.
Four caskets draped in the Canadian flag, a powerful message for a much-loved family who police say were targeted because of their Muslim faith. Madia Salman, her husband Salman Afzal, his mother Talat Afzal, and the couple's 15-year-old daughter Yumna.
4 fountains of sweetness were taken away. 3 generations taken too soon. The loss to our family immense.
Yumna Afzal's close friends came, all in purple hijabs, her favorite color.
You're not going to stop us from standing for what we believe in, and I'm here to honor my friend, so no one can stop me from doing that.
She was really smart, and she had so much potential, and that she was going to change the world.
One person not here today is 9-year-old Fayaz Afzal. He's the only member of his family who survived the attack, and he's still in hospital recovering from his injuries.
We know to be an orphan is a very difficult state to be in. It is a special and a noble and a blessed state, and Allah has chosen that for young Fayaz.
This tragedy has brought so many people together, united against what police call a hate crime. Every day, the memorial grows at this corner where the family was run over by a pickup truck. They were out on an evening walk.
I couldn't even comprehend because those people were like me, you know, and you feel like you belong here, but then there's obviously some people who don't feel the same way. But I just hope we grow together as a community.
At the funeral today, prayers and a call for unity.
I ask you to be examples of love and compassion. I ask you to take the time to learn from someone who doesn't look the same as you.
And so much of the grieving has been in public, just like we're seeing here tonight. But after the funeral, it was a private moment just for those closest to the family as they headed to the ceremony, to the cemetery for a private burial. Marivel, I'll send it back to you.
It's clear the community is there to support and rally for this family. Thanks, Lorenda. Well, still so much left to process for the community affected so deeply by this tragedy. One of the voices providing guidance and comfort has been the Imam of the London Muslim Mosque. Arij Anwar joins me now live. Imam, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me, Marivel.
So after the week that has passed, how do you put into words what today has meant?
Today represents a day of closure, a day of healing. It has been a very long and difficult week for this community, very difficult week for this family. And today, the reality of it sat in, but also because we were able to pray together, heal together, the closure was attained as well, at least a little bit.
Are you able to speak to what that has meant for the family members of the Salman and Afzal families? I know that you had an opportunity to be with them.
I was with them at the cemetery. They're holding up so remarkably well. Like I'm actually in awe of their courage and their strength. I can't believe that they're so composed, and that speaks to what this family is about. They are a resilient family, they're a strong family, and we draw strength from them, and we will continue to support them.
How would you describe the turnout from the community? So many people who knew the family, but also didn't know, complete strangers coming out in droves to show their support. What does that say about the community?
It says that the community cares about us. The vigil, there were so many people that just poured out. The interfaith march, this funeral, the number of people is just immense. The emails that I'm getting, the flowers that are lining the stairs of the mosque, the teddy bears that we're receiving for Fayez, all of this is just an amazing expression of love of this community. We say that love conquers hate, oftentimes the slogan, but here in London, really, it's real.
I know it might be tough to sort of speak about the 9-year-old boy who so many have in their hearts and want to show their support for. Are you able to tell us how he is doing?
He is getting better. He's still in the hospital and he's still recovering. And the doctors have told us that he is not going to be hampered. His growth will not be hampered by the injuries that he sustained. So we're very happy about that. And we're looking forward to him making a full recovery.
That is one thing to be quite thankful for, Imam. Although so much healing left to be done, I'd like to know from you what you think are the most important things to consider as the community tries to heal.
Firstly, we can't forget about Fayez. We won't forget about Fayez, but as just a first step, that has to be front and center. We have to make sure that we support the family. We have to make sure that the funds that have been collected in his name are rightfully transferred to him in a manner that satisfies legal conditions. We also want to make sure that we support the family in whatever they need from us at this point, specifically regarding finance. So that's number one. Number two is this is a trauma, a deep wound that we won't just recover from overnight. Like, we won't forget about it as a community. And we are going to make sure that this fuels us to keep pushing for change so that this cannot happen to any faith group or any group again.
Well, it's clear that that is resonating right around the country and perhaps far beyond that. Imam Arij Anwar, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And this is a live look at Milton, Ontario, where one of many locations in our province and right across the country this weekend, where communities are coming together to hold vigils to remember the victims of the attack and to show solidarity with London's Muslim community. And in Mississauga, people also came together to stand against Islamophobia.
This walk is to march in recognition and honor of the lives lost, and to say loud and clear that there is no room for hate, no room for Islamophobia.
Canada can be a very beautiful place with so many welcoming people. At the same time, there is a lot of hatred and there is a lot of Islamophobia. It maybe presents itself differently than in other countries where it's much more hidden in plain sight, but it's still here.
This vigil was organized by the Muslim Council of Peel at Celebration Square in Mississauga. There will also be a vigil in Toronto later today. Coming up after the break, the latest on Ontario's vaccination plans and the first weekend of Stage 1 reopening. Stay with us.
Last Sunday evening, 4 fountains of sweetness were taken away. 3 generations taken too soon. The loss to our family immense.
That's the uncle of one of the 4 members of the Afzal Salman family, speaking at the funeral service held for them today in London. Members of the Muslim community and the public gathered to celebrate and remember the lives of Madiha Salman, her husband Salman Afzal, their 15-year-old daughter, Yumna Afzal, and Salman's 74-year-old mother, Talat Afzal. They died last Sunday in what police call a hate crime after they were run down while on one of their regular evening walks. The Ontario government says in order to protect elections and defend democracy, it must override sections of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. MPPs held an emergency debate overnight on the controversial move. CBC's Dale Manukduk has the latest on the marathon sitting meant to push through legislation invoking the notwithstanding clause.
Doug Ford is overriding Canada's Charter of Rights, our freedoms.
The latest ad from the Service Employees International Union Healthcare doesn't hold back.
He's put us in that corner where we had to come out with our, punches out.
Union President Charlene Stewart says this is an example of the type of advertising the Ford government is trying to restrain. Included in Bill 307, which would limit third-party spending, it reads, "This act is declared to operate notwithstanding the Sections 2 and 7 to 15 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Section 2 of the Charter relates to fundamental freedoms, including opinion, expression, and freedom of the press."
This is an assault on people's free speech in order to cling to power. It's completely unconscionable.
The Ford government doesn't see it that way.
We believe in controls, they don't. We believe in limits, they don't. We believe in fairness, they don't.
Bill 307 includes a $600,000 spending limit by third parties in the 12 months leading up to an election. The province says it will prevent an American-style election where big money influences and manipulates the outcomes.
We are not a super PAC. We are not corporate billionaires by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, if he wants to deal with big money spending, frontline workers don't have a lot of money to spend, so he knows that. It's basically about their right to use organizations like unions, which that's our job to do, to bring their voices forward. And he is trying to squash those frontline workers' voices through limiting their unions the ability to do what we do for them.
While there was no agreement on invoking the notwithstanding clause, Ontario MPPs unanimously passed a motion condemning Islamophobia and violence targeting the Muslim community. The House will be recalled Sunday at 1 p.m. A vote on Bill 307 is expected Monday. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
The province is shortening the interval for a second AstraZeneca vaccine. Starting Monday, those who received their first dose can book their second dose at an 8-week interval rather than 12 weeks with informed consent. The province says the decision was made after consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health and the Ontario Science Table. And it comes as 502 new cases of COVID-19 were reported today, and more than 11 million vaccine doses have been administered in the province. Today, Toronto Mayor John Tory was at an immunization pop-up clinic for second doses.
Now we're into second doses, and a lot of people know the first dose was a pretty harmless thing, and they know how much good it's doing because they can see the city is beginning to reopen.
He was at the Tariq Islamic Center where second doses are being given. Tory said there are 49 vaccine clinics open this weekend. And it is the first weekend of Stage 1 reopening in our province. And here in Toronto, the streets have been busy. Some patio goers on College Street today say they're glad to be out after months of the stay-at-home order.
Yeah, probably every day I'm going to be going to a patio, enjoying a beer, enjoying a game, for sure.
We're excited. It's awesome to be back. We've been home for a very long time, and with beautiful weather, it's been great to be back.
People are out and enjoying patio season, while others chose to stay cool with a visit to the pool. 10 outdoor pools across the city opened up this week. You can register for a 45-minute swim slot online. Mayor Tory this afternoon said more than 23,000 appointments have already been booked. Doctors are saying the long-term side effects of COVID-19 can manifest even if you experience only mild symptoms when you have the virus. Jessica Ng speaks to a rehab doctor who's trying to change how we think about life after COVID-19.
Breathlessness from the scarring and the inflammation that's going on in the lungs, and some of that difficulty concentrating and switching tasks from day to day.
Dr. Alexandra Rendley is describing patient X, who came to UHN's outpatient long COVID rehab clinic after getting the virus at work in a factory.
What do you hope the general population understands about COVID-19 that might not be part of general knowledge right now?
anyone, any age can be affected long term. And that's something that I think we initially associated with older adults ending up in hospital.
The post-COVID clinic is going into its second year, bringing together specialists like a geriatrician, speech-language pathologist, occupational and physiotherapists for virtual care.
Anywhere between 10 to 20% of patients having ongoing symptoms. So if you think of 4,000 new cases per day for the months of March, April, May, come September, we're going to have a tsunami of patients that are really going to need ongoing rehab support.
Dr. Rendley says there were still a lot of unknowns when it comes to post-COVID care, but she says when she doesn't have an answer for a patient, she tells them that. And that directness, she says, isn't always associated with physiatry and medicine.
I do what I can to help individuals who might not be able to see an additional provider and tailor it as best I can, but I do really need the support of my physiotherapy and occupational therapy colleagues to help implement some of the rehab.
But these different forms of therapy can be expensive and aren't covered by OHIP. Currently, the clinic covers the cost, but it can't say for how much longer. Dr. Angela Chung says funding programs like this is key, with a tsunami of post-COVID patients looming.
I'm just hoping that the provincial governments, the Ministry of Health across Canada, will really think hard on providing some way to manage this post-pandemic pandemic.
As for patient X, he's thriving and back at work.
I hope that we can continue to get more funding so that we can have further expansion of the program.
To help others navigate life after the pandemic. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
The main closure for active TO this weekend is Lakeshore Boulevard East and River Street. The roads will be closed to cars until Sunday night to make room for cyclists and pedestrians. In Mississauga today, people are getting on their bikes as well.
We're encouraging residents and riders of all ages and cycling abilities to come out, enjoy their communities, learn more about their communities, explore their communities, and just exercise and get active.
The city has set up a program called Community Rides. There are signs on the streets and on the ground directing riders to 3 different routes for cyclists of all levels. The organizer adds the program helps to educate people on cycling safety and awareness. Now to some international news. Day 2 of the G7 summit in southwest England has seen leaders agree to spend on infrastructure in developing countries to counter China's growing influence. China has a multi-trillion-dollar Belt and Roads initiative that funds infrastructure in many poorer nations. The G7 has come up with a rival plan, Build Back Better World. But details about how it will be funded and when it will begin are not yet clear. China has helped finance roads, trains, and ports, but some experts say it has left the countries in question saddled with debt. Reports say the U.S. is also pushing for a strong statement against forced labor in China, particularly work from the country's Uyghur minority. Stay with us. We'll be right back. As we've been telling you throughout the show, the outpouring of support for the London community has come from all over Canada. One of the people attending the funeral service today was Hakeem Shambaz. He is one of the survivors of the shooting at the Quebec City Mosque in 2017. He told CBC News that while it's been an emotional and difficult time, it was important for him to be there to show his support.
I really want to say to this family that we are one person. We are with them all the time, all the way, as we have. We have experience in this sad moment, and to tell him that we are all the time with him and we support them all the time, and we are same family, and we have to face this acts of violence and Islamophobia, hatred, all this, the bad stuff. So we are, here to support them, and we'll be with them all the time.
And Sophia is here with our long-range forecast. So, Sophia, I think a lot of people settling into these warm temperatures.
Yeah, I think it came pretty easy. We get used to it pretty quick after the cold and the ups and downs and the topsy-turvy. It was a lovely day for whatever outside events that you had going on today, whether it was a patio, the beach, or maybe one of the city's newly opened pools. We're just a couple degrees now below our high today, which was 25, still sitting really warm, and 28 in Windsor. And if you're heading out anywhere around the lake shores into the overnight hours or into the next couple hours, you still have plenty of time for a bit of sun and cloud, but maybe bring a light sweater with you. We'll be a little bit brisk with a bit of a chillier southeast wind off the lake shores for any of you in the West End, but still a really nice evening to go out and enjoy some lovely weather until the humidity builds into tomorrow. So first into the overnight hours, the clouds come in close to midnight. That's when you could have a little bit of a shower activity or maybe a pop-up rumble, a thunder roll through, and then we get to our overnight low of 16 into the overnight period with a little bit of that rain, which will clear before a really pleasant morning. Now the clouds build throughout the day tomorrow, and so does that heat and that humidity. Yeah, we have the UV, which is really strong right now, which we'll talk about in a minute as we head up toward the summer solstice. But tomorrow's going to be the really humid day of this upcoming work week. You will feel 32 in the city of Toronto. You will feel 34 in Windsor, and even feeling 30 for those of you in Ottawa. So the chances there as well for those of you north and east of any of the lakes, as that lake breeze catches on to any of that heat and instability for a bit of a pop-up rumble of thunder. But it's mostly a dry day for all of you, so I wouldn't cancel any plans for tomorrow. But then Monday is the day we could have more of that widespread rain come through. It will put a break to any of that humidity that you experience tomorrow, though, as after the afternoon and evening rain clears, that cold front will drape down and really make a nice, brisk, fresh feeling for the majority of this upcoming work week. So we actually spend much of this work week just a degree or two below seasonal, which should be about 23 for this time of year. And then the heat kicks back in as we head into next weekend. The humidex will be back and maybe a little bit of an unsettled pattern as well. It is also the big weekend that Sunday night next Sunday night, we'll officially welcome in summer. Summer solstice is June the 20th. And as we head up to the summer solstice, Marivel, it's when the UV is also the strongest. So you want to make sure you remember this week, even if it's not super warm, to remember that sun protection for everyone.
And it's a good reminder, Sophia, because I think a lot of people think if it's cloudy and it's raining, we don't need that sunscreen. But it pokes through, doesn't it?
It is the highest this time of year and the strongest. So especially if you haven't been used to being out in the sun much this winter, you will burn very, very easy.
Okay, so enjoy the vitamin D, but protect yourself. Got it. Thank you. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching, and you can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. As we go, more photos that captured a community coming together to mourn and to celebrate the lives of the Salman and Afzal family today in London, Ontario. Good night, everyone.